Right? Yeah. Okay. Hello, class. As many of you know, America is considered the bowling pot, right? Because all the cultures that are within it are diverse, and well, the food within it is pretty good actually. It comes from all around the world, from India, Germany, to France, to Britain. Well, today I would like to highlight or outline for you the different styles of cooking within Germany. And I would be going over the hot foods, the side dishes, and the desserts, as each one is very more complicated than the others. I'll be more outlining like the different styles in which they actually prepare the foods, like certain types, and to where even like noodles or potatoes are prepared, or even desserts where literally they use a lot of fruit in there, no joke. It's really kind of cool. But yeah, so basically, let's go on. R is for our right click, right? Currywurst. Currywurst is one of the food products that is made within Germany, and it is made out of pork, mostly. It is considered fast food and really high in fat, truthfully. It's, for this product to be made, it needs to be braised. Braised is where you have a meat product over a dry and wet, moist kind of air. So like smoking a meat for like pulled pork or anything like that. They would go ahead and have it over a dry, moist heat. And then after a while, it'll come out to where the meat itself is just like juicy type, but it's a little bit dry on the outer parts. For currywurst to be made, they use a ton of ingredients, and it actually is very diverse in what part of Germany you go to. And as of today, stated by, Michael Schachman, currywurst is one of the most popular foods in Germany as of right now. And so the reason why they don't really get fat is because they actually run it off, as he was stating in his article. Due to this being really high in fat, Germans don't really stay on their couch and just eat it. They actually run right after they eat it. So beware when you actually eat this kind of thing. The other type of style for hot foods is called, I'm sorry for this, I really did mess up on probably pronouncing this, Sauerbraten. It's where the meat is actually marinated in vinegar or wine vinegar. And it's going to be marinated for at least, I think the minimum was actually 3 days. And it's supposed to come out tender and juicy. And by this happening, it really does come out pretty good. I might try this one day. Well, so with currywurst, even though it's prepared just like any other thing, it's actually one of the fast food. It's not working. Yeah. So let's continue on to the side dishes. The side dish is, well, they're high in fat, truthfully, just like those American foods. Well, with stated by Giselle Williams from New York Times, the dishes are becoming more modern. They're starting to cut out more fat, put in more fruits, and this is shown within more western parts of Germany. But these side dishes, they're noodles and potatoes. With noodles, they prepare them just like any other noodles that you would find in Italy. Difference is that they use egg yolks. They go ahead and like put a ton of egg yolks and just like mush it all around with the noodles within the pot itself when it's boiling. And they just prepare it like that. With potatoes though, they mash it, they pan fry it, and they also, mash it, and even boil it. So with, in France, they like to say steak frites. Well, in Germany, they like to use They like to say, well, I can't even say it. They like to do potatoes like French fries, and then also currywurst. They like to combine the two products and then sell it how it is. And by this taste, they go in and get a unique flavor. With the French fries itself, they like to actually serve them with either mayonnaise or ketchup, which that's actually really popular in Europe, mayonnaise with French fries. Yeah. So after you, of course, you have your meals and everything, you want to go down to dessert, truthfully, right? And well, one of the desserts is called Schatz Wilder Carrot Short Thornton. I'm not gonna learn doing pretty well, most likely. This is actually truthfully a chocolate cake, and it is very popular within Germany. The difference that actually goes into it when they're preparing the style in which they use, you notice the cherries. These can either be sour or regular old cherries. And within the whole entire thing within here, there's multiple actual chocolate cakes with whipped cream in between. And then they put a little bit of cherry juice. And by this, they get a unique flavor that is actually pretty good. I've actually tried it. And the thing that actually makes it diverse is that sometimes they use sour or normal cherries, but they can go on to others, like strawberries. Another type that I found actually pretty common is Pfannkuchen. Think of little pancakes, thin pancakes. And in order to prepare these, they use eggs, milk, flour, sugar, salt, and that'll be it. They prepare them just like crepes, where you get them to little thin, flip it, and then you're done. Difference is, when they're all getting stacked, they put butter, so it'll be cooling off with butter. And it comes out pretty good. You put jam or anything within it. Well, and truthfully, I hope that from learning these experiences from the styles of cooking, it'll have you grow more closer to German culture, or at least try different cultures that are out there today. And overall, the cooking style within Germany is very unique, and you should actually try some of these, because I might. That's it.
Ashley, could you share your thoughts with us, please?
Well, at the beginning, he was like really good at it. Like he was really prepared. It seemed like he had a really clear topic statement. He like listed out what he was gonna say. But later in the slideshow, he kind of got. I think he got kind of nervous because of the fact he couldn't pronounce certain words. His visuals were really great. They were big enough to see. You could see the different colors. It wasn't trying to hide. He kept looking at the screen, which kind of threw me off, because I would assume he knew what was on the slide, and then at one point it was just black. And through the dishes, it seemed like he got accepted. He like, went into the first one, but then all the other ones he kind of rushed them all. But overall, I think he had great attention grabber. He was really good at citing sources, and the conclusion, like drawing in the fact that he wants other people to like go and experience new things, really brought it together.
All right. Yeah, I thought at the beginning that there was some source citation for the material, but I didn't really hear anything later in the speech, and the material basically just sounded like it was a description of each of the individual dishes as opposed to what was unique about it in its preparation. All of it, of course, is probably going to make people hungry. I'm sitting there looking at the currywurst thinking, I can go for that. That's pretty good. And then the cake, of course, that doesn't look bad at all. The potatoes, they're just potatoes. It sounded to me like at the beginning of the speech, there was going to be a discussion of particular styles of cooking, but in the end, it just sounds like it's a description of a single meal. You know, here's the currywurst, which is the center or the main entree, and then you've got the side dishes. We'll talk about the potatoes, and then we're going to talk about dessert issues. So I didn't really get a difference between the cooking styles. There's a little bit of reference to the sour broths that you talked about where they are marinated, and I thought, okay, that's the one place where you really were doing a little bit of comparison with the styles of how they are cooked. I'm still trying to figure out how it's a dry, moist heat. You know, that just sounds odd to me, and I'm sure there's an explanation of it. I'm not saying that you make that up, but doesn't that sound like it's contradictory? It's a dry, moist heat, and I'm wondering how does that work out? There's got to be a way that it cooks. Maybe it holds the moisture in some way. You know, so you start with a dry heat, but there's moisture created. I don't know. But that's one of those things that I ought to know because you did the speech, and so there ought to be a little bit more explanation there. The visuals, like I said, you obviously had a little bit of trouble with it, getting slides to advance. You handled that pretty well. You just went over and did it by hand. That's fine. That's, when in doubt. I have no idea what happened there, and I'm going to try and figure it out here in just a second, because it seems to me like that would be a strange thing to have happen. But they're large and interesting to look at, and like I said, I think most people probably were, found the images appealing enough to say, well, I'd eat that, or I'd try that. Who turned down chocolate cake with multiple layers of stuff in it? I do want the pannkuchen. I want to see what those things, I know what they look like, but, I think that would be one of those things that could have used an extra visual there at the end. The term that you used at the beginning, I think you referred to the boiling pot, and I think you're really referring to a melting pot, and that's a little bit different. And I thought, well, that's a little bit odd, So I think I knew what you meant there, but I was having to work at that. I think you could use a little bit more justification for the topic. For instance, why you've picked German food to focus on particularly as opposed to other kinds of food. It's not that hard to think about if you say, America is known as the melting pot, and there are a lot of different cultures and lots of different kinds of things. But I'll tell you, one of the things that gets added a lot to this pot substantially is German heritage. In fact, if you looked at the immigration across the United States, people with German ancestry represent about 42% of the immigrants between the period of time, blah, 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 blah. And so it seems like there's a lot of people who would be familiar with this, but some of you living out here on the West Coast might not be quite as familiar, so let me tell you about that. So you could just kind of do a little bit more to justify talking about this particular kind of thing, as opposed to sounding a little bit like a waiter describing the menu items for the day and say, our specials today are currywurst and Schwarzenwalder or whatever it is, cooking, So that sounded hard. I got to look at the words to see. You need to practice.